Hi everybody, welcome to the second card in our Welcoming Windows series of 3. You should all have your kits by now and hope you enjoyed doing the first card. So the second card that we're going to be doing is a gatefold card. And this one is more stamping than die cutting, so you're going to be using your stamp set a little bit more. So this is with the Welcoming Windows stamp set. You'll need your stamp set. You will need your die cuts. We are going to be using the one little flower. And if you have one, a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. If not, you can use whatever punch you have to do, just for the sentiment anyways. So let's get started. In your kit, you have your black base. I've already scored yours if you received a kit, but what you want to do on the long side is score at 2 1/8, then flip it around and score at 2 1/8 on the other side, and that becomes your gatefold. So you're just going to fold your score in and burnish it, and on the other side burnish it as well, and that's your gatefold card. Now you do have a piece of white cardstock, which is going to be the inside, but we are going to decorate it a little bit, so we'll leave that until we get to the stamping. So in order just to continue going with this is your base, and then you also have two pieces of cardstock that are, oh, I didn't put the size on there. Now, why would I not do that? Well, they would be 2, because you want a little border all the way around. So 2 inches. This is 5 1/2. So I would do 5 5/8, just a little bit over a quarter, just to give you a border all the way around the edge. I will put the size on the video later. And then we have 2 pieces of DSP, which are 1/8 of an inch smaller than that as well. You can use either side, but I prefer to use the little brick side, so you can adhere those to your, this is Magenta Madness, so you can adhere these pieces to your Magenta Madness. There is a kind of an upside down and a right side up I felt when I looked at this DSP. I guess it doesn't really matter, but to me it just looked better one way than it did the other. So adhere that. I left quite a good sized border around this one, because I wanted the DSP, or the cardstock color, to show through really well. Again, whichever way looks the best to you. So you can mount those on there. And then these can actually get mounted to your card base. This one's going to be a fairly quick card, actually. Last one we did was a little more involved. Alright, so just make sure you've got a nice border there. This is going to be a very tiny border. You can measure, but I just eyeball it. And now that's going to act up on me a little bit again. I find with this seal and stamp and seal that you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. The harder you push, the less it works, basically. Again, a very tiny, it's not even 1/8 of an inch, I don't think, but just a very small border. So there you go, that's your card base. Then you have a piece of Magenta Madness that's 3 3/4 by 3 1/2, and a piece of white cardstock that's 3 1/2 by 3 1/4, and we're going to stamp on that white piece, so we're not actually going to mount it at this stage of the game. So let's just do a little bit of stamping. Let's stamp our inside first. So I used my Magenta Madness and my Garden Green, and on the inside I stamped, just going to stand that up there, I don't know if you can see that, but the jug, this cute little jug that's in our stamp set here, and the 2 foliages we need. So we're going to stamp our jug in Magenta Madness. Just in the corner somewhere. Get my cleaning cloth here. I like to clean my stamps as I go, just so I don't forget. Sometimes I find my blocks get a little bit grubby too, so I clean those as I go along as well. And we don't need the jug for the front, so we actually can put that one back. And then we're going to stamp our greens. Let's just get 2 blocks. And then inside, I didn't want to put flowers. I just wanted foliage. So I used both of my foliage backgrounds. One in garden green. Just hang that over the jug a little bit. If it's off the edge of the card, that's okay too. And then just to give it a bit more depth, a lighter color. Let's try, where's my Pear Pizazz? That's soft seafoam, that's a little too light. Oh, here we are. Pear Pizazz. And we're just gonna stamp right over top of that with the other foliage. And instead of having flowers, we just kind of have a double foliage look. We did that on our first card as well, but I just kind of like the look of that, the 2 foliages. Okay, we don't need this one. We're going to use this stamp on the front of our card. So what we will do is we will get our flowers out for that stamp, and we will put those on there. Okay, we can get rid of our Pear Pizazz. I did not double up on the colors on the front. All right, so that's our inside card done. We can just stick that in there. We'll attach that in a minute. So then on your square piece, or almost square piece, I guess I should say, we're going to stamp our window and our shutters. So it is a little bit longer one way than it is the other. So you want it long way just to give you enough room to do this. And your black. So let's stamp the window base in black. So this is our window base. Just to make sure you get it on your stamp. There's nice lines there, which are handy. And just try and get it as straight as you possibly can. You know me, it's art. I don't think that art has to be absolutely perfect, but this is also a symmetrical window, so we want to do our best to make it straight. This is a little easier. This block has some lines on it. Okay, so do it in the middle so that you've got space to put your shutters on afterwards. Now you can do your shutters in the Magenta Madness like I did, or you can do them in black if you don't have Magenta Madness. So I'm going to do this one in black just so that you can see that you don't need to have the actual colors. Now keep this fairly close to the top because you want room for your flower box at the bottom. So now we're going to do the shutters. Now our shutters, I'm going to suggest that you do your window box before you do your shutters. Window ledge, window box, whichever you want to call it. Because the shutters kind of sit just on the top of that. So we're going to do that first. Again, I got some lines on here which help me get that in the right space. So let's do our window ledge. And you'll notice when you see this stamp that it's not a solid stamp. There is some little spots that don't get ink on it, and that's good. That's how it's supposed to be. So there's our window ledge. So now let's replace the shutters. Again, we'll use our lines. Make sure that's nice and straight. There's no up and down. There's no right and wrong on your shutters, but let's just do these shutters in black. So when you do your shutters, you're going to want to place them so they're just as close as you can get them, but leave a tiny space and just keep it a little above that window ledge. It doesn't have to match perfectly with the side of the window because then it's going to be on that window ledge, and I don't want it on that window ledge. So just a small space there. And the same thing on the other side. Again, a tiny space aside from the window and just above that window ledge. And there you go. Well, that one didn't stamp as well as I would have liked it to. This is where a stamp apparatus would come in handy. If you used your stamp apparatus, you could just re-stamp that, no problem, and it would be nice and solid. But in this case, we're just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, so now I did a few, if you'll look at the card, just a little tiny bit of the green on each end of that window ledge, and that's a little tiny stamp that's in here. Now it only goes one way, so if you look at the stamp, it really kind of looks like it should only go one way, but I made it go both ways. So you'll see how it works. So it looks like it's designed to go on this end, which is fine. Go right over top of your black, because you don't want it kind of sticking out too far from the window, but then just turn it around this way and do the other side. It works. There you go. It just looks like a little bit more green coming out of that box. And now, on a separate piece of paper, so that's our window done as much as we want to do it. You could actually color. If you wanted this to be a stained glass window, you could do some coloring with your blenders in there. So now we're going to actually have a small piece, and we're going to stamp our flower on this one. So garden green. Keep it towards the bottom so you have room for the sentiment at the top. Okay, and just in case you didn't see the first video, the flowers that match up with this, you'll see there's little holes in the stamp set itself, and that's where the flowers go. On this particular one, there's 3 in the top, and they match up with the 3 that's on this stamp. So we're going to stamp that in the Magenta Madness, and just line it up, pardon my head if I get it in there, line it up as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we are actually done with our inks. So we'll get rid of those. I find if I leave them sitting on my table, I'm definitely going to put my elbows in them at some point in time. So now we need our die cut. So bear with me while I just kind of die cut this quickly. So there are 2 die cuts in there. This is the one with the drooping down leaves, so that's the one that we want to use to match up with this. Match it up as best you can. I usually stick a little piece of washi tape on just so it stays where I want it to stay. Get as much of that foliage in there as possible. And just quickly run it through our die cut machine. Pardon all the noise here while I get organized. Gives us our flower. Be a little careful taking off this washi tape sometimes. Okay, so that's our die cut flower, and we're going to mount our die cut flower on the front. I did pop it up because I wanted to give it a bit of a dimension. So a couple of dimensionals there. Let it hang down over the box a little bit, so I want it to be not too far down. And then this other side I used to stamp my sentiment, which in this particular case used, which one did we do on the card? We did Sending Sunshine for a Beautiful Birthday. I wanted this to be a birthday card. So Sending Sunshine for a Beautiful Birthday. And you can do this in the Magenta Madness, or you can do it in the black. So I'm going to do it in the black. That pink's a pretty bold color, so you might want to tone that down just a little bit. So we'll do that in the black. And then I just use my circle punch to punch that, getting it right in the middle. This punch is not working as well as it should. Okay, that's a scrap that we can get rid of. Now, this mounts on your Magenta Mantis. Make sure you got it the right way around, because again, it's a little longer than it is. It is deep. So let's mount this first, and then we'll know where we want to put that sentiment, because there is a bit of thinking involved in actually placing that sentiment. Okay. It's got a good sized border around it. So you're going to mount this. Let's mount our inside first. Oh, here we go again. Not having a lot of luck with this one. As I say, I get a little rough with it, and then it doesn't want to work. You have to be very gentle. You could use double-sided tape or glue for that matter. You don't have to use. There we go. So we're just going to mount this on the inside. Again, you want a nice little border. You got a good sized border around this one as well. There we go. So the placement of your front is in this. I kept it higher up because you've got your circle, and your circle's a good size. Now what I wanted to do with mine was to change the look of it a little bit. So I actually cut the top and the bottom to flatten it. So if you look on mine, so the window kind of comes and just covers the top piece of it. Originally I designed it and tried to tuck it back in here to hold it down, and you could if that's how you wanted to do it, but it didn't really come up the way I wanted it to come, so I decided to ignore it. So place it fairly high up on your card to allow room for your sentiment, and you're only going to want to glue the left hand side, so it's only going to glue to this left hand side flap. So let's just put some on here. Let's just give up on that because that's not working right now. So maybe 2 or 3 very close to together strips of your tape, and then again centering it so that you've got a bit of a border. You won't have much of a border of the brick. You won't see much of the brick on each side because it's a fairly wide piece. But just keeping it up as high as you can, and just only doing that left side, so that when you are done, your card will flop open. And then your sentiment will either fit or not fit. Now you can put it on flat and put it behind, and then it won't make any difference. Or you can do what I did and just cut the top as straight as your hand will allow you to cut it. I didn't want to be particularly fancy, and I just cut the bottom off. So I mounted it to match the bottom of the pink, and then I had lots and lots of room by doing that, but you could leave it the other way as well. It's just however you want to do it. Every card is individual. And then you're going to put some dimensionals on there. I'm going to pop mine up a little bit. A little trick, if you have trouble getting your dimensional, just use your finger and press down on that, and then those backs will just pop right off. Okay. I matched the base where I cut it with the bottom of the brick, and just left the top. And I kind of liked how it looked with that straight cut. But you could leave this silver just as well. Not really happy with how my shutter turned out, but you can see that it doesn't matter whether it's in the black. It looks just as pretty in the black as it does doing them in the pink. And I did do another one. I'll just show you the other one I did that I used. Bermuda Bay. So again, that just gives you a different look with the different background colors that you can look. And this one I didn't bother. I just put the whole circle on and glued it down flat. And my inside I did with the Bermuda Bay as the jug. So that's this card number 2, and that's a pretty simple card. I hope you enjoyed that one. And stay tuned, and we'll do our 3rd and last card very shortly. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe and like button. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.